Yo, what is going on, everyone? This is your host with the most, the one and only. And first off, I got a quick question for you. You ever ordered a band online but were unsure as to your sizing? Nowadays, with so many choices, it's not really that straightforward, especially if it's your first time ordering a certain type of band. I wish there was a one size fits all, but in reality, everyone has different preferences and wrist sizes, and so today, we're going to go over a quick sizing guide to one of Apple's newest and freshest bands within their band product line. I'm talking about the trail loops that were designed for the Apple Watch Ultra. Now look, thankfully, the trail loops aren't as complicated as something like the solo loop or braided solo loop lines. Those style of bands range from a size 1 all the way to a size 12, and some are band specific. For example, the size 1 or 2 is only available on the smaller casing size. If you haven't checked out that video yet, I've released an entire video dedicated to helping you out choose out the correct size, specifically for the braided solo line as well as the regular solo loop. Once again, click the card at the top right for that video, or click the video link in the description below. But like I said, thankfully the decision with the trail loops is much easier. You have only two options, either the small medium or the medium large. So what's the difference, and does it even matter what size you get? There are some substantial differences, as a matter of fact, that I'd like to go over. And I'd even go as far as saying that it'll change the look and feel of your whole watch setup depending on how much extra band you have on the wrist. So guys, if this is your first time here, I definitely want to invite you to join my tech family by clicking the subscribe button down below. I feature a ton of Apple Watch related content, as well as battery drain tests, unboxings, giveaways, and so much more. So now that the introductions are out of the way, I think the stage is set, and I think we're ready to dive right in. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this video is especially for those individuals who do not have an Apple store within a reasonable driving distance nearby. It is a bit annoying to not be 100% certain of the look or feel of a band until you slap it on the wrist, but I at least hope my video serves as a useful guide to you to help you make a better, more informed decision. But first things first, let's measure up these two bands to see just how much of an actual difference there is between the small medium and the medium large. So okay, I'm going to loop over the Velcro part to only show the usable area. So I'm going to put the lugs right below the Velcro and then measure them lug to lug. So the small medium in blue and gray measures in at roughly 17 centimeters top to bottom, or 170 millimeters. The medium large measures in from lug to lug at nearly 20 centimeters or 200 millimeters. That's a difference in just 3 centimeters between the small medium and the medium large. Doesn't sound like a lot, but trust me, on the wrist it makes a massive difference. So first up, like I said, with the trail loops designed for the Apple Watch Ultra, you have two options: the small medium, which Apple claims will fit wrists measuring 130 to 180 millimeters, while the medium large does overlap a portion of the smaller one, fitting wrists measuring 145 to 220 millimeters. So again, notice the overlap. But honestly, unless you've measured your wrist already, this doesn't mean much. So the number one thing I recommend doing, if you have one nearby, grab a measuring tape and flip it over to the centimeter side. If you don't have one, go to your nearest craft store. I'm sure they got one. Say you need to borrow it real quick to measure the length of a table or something, then quietly and discreetly measure your wrist, give it back, and say an emergency just happened, like your aunt is trying to steal your toner again, and dip quick. So now you measured your wrist for free. If you don't want to follow through with that though, buy yourself a measuring tape. They're quite inexpensive. Anyways, you can see I feel my wrists are pretty average for a male in his mid-20s. So yeah, my wrist measures roughly about 18.5 centimeters. But you always want to overestimate a little, so let's just say 19 centimeters. And thankfully, since I assume we all passed 4th grade math, the conversion is very simple. All you do is move the decimal to the right one spot and voila. My wrists are roughly measuring in around the vicinity of 185 to 190 millimeters, which means theoretically Apple's small should not fit, because remember, Apple claims the small and medium fits wrists 130 to 180 millimeters. But the thing is, I don't consider myself a menace, but I always order the small medium anyway. It fits quite well, although I will say, the small medium trail loop provides only minimal excess material, which in my opinion is how I prefer it. For simplicity's sake, in this video, the blue-gray trail loop will be the small medium and the yellow beige is the medium large, and they won't change. And as you can see, when putting on the medium large or the yellow one, there is a ton more excess material to be able to comfortably make tighter or looser. So really it comes down to preference, especially if your wrists are measuring somewhat within the median like mine do. And I've heard some people say the trail loops aren't supposed to be installed on the wrist like the sport loops and rather are installed the opposite way around. But I think that's a bunch of baloney. Wear it the way you want and what's most comfortable for you. But like I was saying at the beginning, I tend to think it makes a pretty reasonable difference depending on which sizing you get. The small medium only barely fits me with just enough excess to be able to squeeze my hands through it. That's my one small minor nitpick with the small medium. If I install both lugs and try to slap the small medium trail loop in through my hand, it does take a bit more effort to get through into my wrist, seeing as I have to squirm and clench my hand a bit in order for it to fit. Thus, the medium large is quicker and much easier to install given there is more room and ultimately more wiggle room to finagle while on the wrist. Normally when out and about, I have my trail loop on not so tight, something reasonable, but not too loose either. But for sure, whenever I'm at the gym or out for a run, I do tend to tighten it just a bit, and that convenient pull tab helps a lot to quickly do it in a flash. But hold on, maybe you don't have a measuring tape, in which case don't worry, I got you covered. I'm going to compare both sizes relatively to other existing band sizes, namely the solo and braided solo line. You see, originally, I would order the size 7s for the braided solo and solo loop line because, well, that's what Apple's measuring tool said I should get. But not surprisingly, Apple's online measuring tool is more or less full of shit. And now I get the size 6 as it's way snugger and not as loose. So as you can see, I have both a size 6 and a size 7 braided solo to compare and contrast against the trail loops. So now, here's the size 7 braided solo on the wrist, and as you can see, the size 7 fits me, but I can easily run 2 fingers on the underside of the band with minimal effort, meaning it's pretty loose. It's a way more relaxed fit. In comparison, the size 6 braided solo is way more snug, way closer to the skin, and I can only run half of 1 finger down the underside while it's on the wrist. Thus, here's my conclusion. If you wear a size 6 or smaller on the braided solo or regular solo loops, then you'll want to look at the small medium size for the trail loops, and conversely, if you wear a size 7 or higher on the braided solo line, then the medium large will be more up your alley. Of course, there may be some deviations for some folks, but for the majority, this blueprint should work fine for most people. But what if you don't own a solo loop or braided solo, and what if you only have a regular sport band? Well, once again, as the king of all things Apple Watch on YouTube, I got you covered once again. So look, here's the thing. When I wear sport bands, I prefer the small medium over the medium large for the same reason as the trail loops. I hate having a ton of that excess flap tucked under the wrist. I feel it just makes my wrist get sweatier when I work out. So when I wear the small medium sport bands, I usually fasten it on the 3rd hole from the bottom for casual scenarios when I'm not active, and tighten it 1 notch to the 4th hole from the bottom for a much tighter fit so that those sensors can get the most accurate readings. And then, for the medium large sport bands, I have my Hermes orange sport band here to demonstrate, and as you can see, with the medium large, I wear mine casually on the very last hole, meaning I got it as tight as it can be, and just look at all that excess flap there on the underside. For me, it's way too much and is why I prefer the small medium. So again, my recommendation here remains pretty much the same, and it's pretty straightforward. Order the small medium if you wear the small medium sport band, and order the medium large trail loop only if your wrist comfortably fits the 2nd hole or lower from the top on the medium or large sport bands. Trust me, when working out, you want your watch setup to be as least intrusive as possible. And for me, having all that excess material tucked away is just a big turnoff for me. Really, it doesn't matter if you own a Series 8, 7, or 6, or an Ultra. The sizing all remains the same, all for like maybe a millimeter or two of difference, given as how the Ultra's casing is slightly larger, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Overall, I want you all to get the band that will be most comfortable for you. So if you found this video useful, don't forget to drop a like, and you're still in time to join my seasonal band giveaway. It's ending in early April of 2023. Check the description for more information. If you're watching this past April 2023, don't worry, be on the lookout, as every band release means TheJuan&Only is giving away free bands, so definitely keep your eyes peeled. Guys, that's it. On the trail loops, the sizing is pretty straightforward, but if you're somewhere in the middle like me, it can be a bit hard to decide. Follow me over on my socials, tweet at me if you still have questions, DM me your favorite Apple Watch plus band combination. I'm posting a lot more reels and short light content over there on my socials, so just give me a follow if you can. And also, while on this topic, maybe, just maybe, you've been rocking the medium large for a while now and are just now realizing that it's okay to step down to the small medium. It may fit you way better anyway. That's been it for now, guys. Drop your comments down below, and as always, stay hydrated, and I cannot wait to catch you all in my next video.